All right, what's up, guys? How we doing? Now, The Substance. When a fading celebrity decides to use a black market drug, a cell-replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of herself. And this movie is written and directed by Coralie Farja. They previously had done a movie called Revenge, which I've never seen, but because of my intrigue and how much I really liked this movie, I will definitely check it out very soon. And it stars Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, and Dennis Quaid. Now, this movie is a lot of things. From the trailer, I knew this movie was going to be different, and it does not disappoint. This movie is gross, it's disgusting, it's original, insanely creative, hypnotizing, exhilarating, and all at the same time, all of those things, it's just so fucking cool. I mean, Demi Moore is fantastic, probably her best role that I've ever seen her in. Granted, I haven't seen a lot of what she's done, but she is amazing. She stars in this dance routine kind of workout show for women for this network. And first scene we see her, she's all happy. She is kind of getting older, but she's still the star of it. It's still her own, and she's just getting it. And then that's the last scene that we see her truly happy in. It's all downhill from there. She does a great job though at evoking those emotions that one would have when being replaced by these younger, more beautiful women and seeing them on the TV, seeing how you're no longer needed and how you're not good enough, for Hollywood standards. And you're just kind of sitting there reminiscing on the glory days, wondering where time went. And it's very, very scary. Margaret Qualley is also fantastic in this movie. She plays Sue, Demi Moore's younger version of herself, and she is sexy, she's stunning, she's gorgeous. Every scene that she's in is filmed in a completely different way than the rest of the movie is. Just like her, the scenes are sexy, they're provocative, it's vibrant. She is just a Hollywood star. It's written all over her. She runs the show. I mean, these Hollywood agents go fucking crazy for her. Dennis Quaid specifically, which I'll get into in a bit, but everything is just the colors, pink, blue, everything is so neon and retro, and everything's just popping off the screen when it's her time. Now, Dennis Quaid. I haven't seen this dude do a movie in a pretty long time, but he is great. He plays the perfect douchebag, out of touch, selfish Hollywood agent, but it's also dramatized. It's also over the top in a very comedic way, which I think also fits the vibe of this movie perfectly. The body horror elements of this movie are disgusting, which I will also get into later. But Dennis Quaid's character is also fucking disgusting. It's in the trailer, but there's a scene of him and Demi Moore at a lunch where he, is telling her that they're gonna have to fire her because she's too old. And he's just eating these shrimp prawns, I think, or yes, some sort of shrimp, and he's just dipping it in the sauce, and there's just chewing with his mouth open, just talking, spitting everywhere. The sauce is all over his hands, all over his mouth. And it's fucking disgusting. I mean, this dude is ridiculous. And his character's name is also Harvey, which I don't know if that was done on purpose or not, but maybe? I also really like the cinematography in this movie. There's a lot of wide shots. I would say about 40 to 50% of the shots in this movie are wide with a lot of depth, a lot of empty space with the character just sitting, right in the middle. And it's not A24, but it kind of has a similar vibe to it, which, I will always love. I think it's great, but it stands on its own. The director does a great job at differentiating itself and standing on its own. But on the other side of the spectrum, you also have a lot of close-ups, on the characters' faces that add to the gross, that also add to the horror elements of this movie too. And there's also some POV shots that also add to the horror and putting us in the shoes of this movie. I do think that great cinematography is kind of a norm these days. Everybody's trying to look cool. I think it's that A24 effect because, a lot of movies that I've seen in the past few, 5, whatever years, they don't all look the same, but they are trying to be fancy with their shots and not necessarily pretentious, but kind of, and kind of stylistic and different. But a lot of those movies do suffer from not having a good enough story to where it's all style. But this movie is not style over substance. The soundtrack and the story of this movie is also amazing. You know, when we're with Sue, it does nothing but add to the sexy, hypnotic, exhilarating aspects that those scenes have, the elements that they have. And when we're with Elizabeth Sparkle, Demi Moore, it's more horrific, it's more horrifying and thrilling and heart pounding. And the score just does a fantastic job with just amplifying all of those feelings. I would say it's also kind of similar to the score of Challengers from previously this year, which I don't think is a bad thing whatsoever. Now, on to the horror elements of this movie, which are definitely my favorite parts. This movie is out there. It's fucking insane. And I loved it. I thought it was great. It's so original and so creative. It's very Cronenberg-esque. So it's not only horror, it's body horror. I haven't seen too many of Cronenberg's movies, but the ones I have seen, it's very Cronenberg-esque. Crimes of the Future, which came out like 2 years ago. I wasn't a fan of that movie, but you get a lot of that in this. The grotesque, disgusting stuff that happens to their bodies in this movie, you know, this is all I'm going to say. The first scene, the first shot is an egg yolk on a counter, and you just see this hand come in with a needle and inject it with something, and you slowly start to see like cells forming in the egg yolk, and then just very slowly another perfectly formed egg yolk just boop, slides right out the side of it, and you got two perfect egg yolks. And that's all I'm going to say. But I loved everything about the body horror and the gross aspects of this movie, because if you are squeamish, you're probably going to not like it as much, but I'm not. I love it. I love gore. This movie isn't really gory. It's just gross and bloody. But I just think that when a movie makes you feel anything at all, it's succeeded, and this movie makes you feel a lot more than just what you're used to. And as this movie progresses, you know, it's constantly getting grosser, more bloody, more disgusting. Demi Moore's character is starting to get more and more into this rabbit hole and just lose her fucking mind. And the same with Sue, you know. They're supposed to be switching every 7 days, but why would you when you're this beautiful, young, sexy girl? You know, you're not going to want to switch. And obviously, you know, I'm not going to spoil anything, but side effects start to happen from this substance that they're taking and the experience that they're having. Lots and lots and lots of side effects. This movie is also almost 2.5 hours, and it honestly didn't feel like that to me. It felt like a 2-hour movie. You know, even with the last 20 minutes kind of being the only real negative that I have, because that's when it decides to just fully go dark comedy, everything's comedic, but also kind of still being horror. It's over the top, it's ridiculous. You're just sitting there kind of laughing like at how absolutely bonkers it is. And with the first 2 hours, you know, I was completely engaged. My eyes were glued to the screen every second, enjoying every aspect, every performance that this movie offered. But even with the 2.5 hour runtime, I don't think that anything can really be cut out. I think everything has a purpose, every scene has intention, and I think that's really rare in movies these days. Now back to Demi Moore's character and just the whole underlying themes of this movie, you know, it's beauty standards and how far is a fading celebrity willing to go to feel how she did when she was young and on top of the world and in every movie and was perfect. You know, the standards that men, Hollywood agents, people in Hollywood, fans, even just women in general, the pressure that they feel is off the charts. I mean, it's too much. It's almost impossible to uphold, and it's not fair at all, you know. They expect men and fans, everybody expects these women to be perfect all the time, to look stunning, to look beautiful, no matter what the setting is. And if they're not, they get treated completely differently. Like there's a scene where Demi Moore is getting ready in her bathroom in the mirror, and you know, it's with a dude who she hasn't seen since high school. She's got her dress on, putting her earrings in, she's doing her makeup, but the whole time she just has this blank stare almost like she's disgusted with herself for some reason. I mean, it's fucking Demi Moore. Come on, dude. She's 61 and she looks like that? What the fuck? But she's still questioning herself. Back to the themes, She's doing her makeup in a different way. She tries red lipstick. She smears it off. She's putting on bronzer or, eyeliner, whatever she's doing. And she changes her makeup so many times. And eventually she's just like so repulsed for some reason. And she just doesn't go on the date. She's just going fucking crazy. And, I am not a female. I can't fully understand all those things, but I do think that women will relate to this, to those overall themes and what this movie is really, really trying to say. But at the same time, with the other side as well with this movie and the themes that I'm talking about, once you become a Hollywood star, on top of the world in every movie, you're loved and adored by millions of people. I would imagine, just me knowing my personality, you don't ever want that feeling to go away. Once you get that taste in your mouth, you don't ever want to feel the feeling like she feels of being thrown away and discarded, like you're not good enough anymore. And so you're just always trying to reach that again, that level of fame, of being loved. And you want to die being that famous because no one wants to be that burnout, who was famous 20, 30 years ago, but now you're just washed. Nobody wants to feel that way. And the first scene to the last shot in this movie perfectly exemplifies that to a T. And there's plenty of other metaphors, and symbolism in this movie. I think there's a lot going on, but it's done in the best way possible. The script is great. The acting is fantastic, not only with the beauty standards and how women of Hollywood feel and have to keep, it's also kind of telling you, you are you no matter what, because the guy who they get the substance from is constantly telling them, because they each are keep calling because they have to switch every 7 days. But he's constantly saying, remember, you are you no matter what. And that's just, it's true. I mean, no matter what, even if you're old, getting old is a part of life. Nobody wants to get old, but at some point you're going to have to accept it, even if you don't want to. And that it really only matters what's on the inside. Beauty is only a facade. It's maybe necessary in Hollywood for a little bit, but it doesn't necessarily matter in the grand scheme of things. And just everything this movie is trying to say, I think is fantastic. So yeah, overall, guys, this is a crazy, grotesque, out of its mind take on beauty standards of women and how far a dying Hollywood star is willing to go. How desperate is an actress who used to be perfect and on top of the world, willing to put her life at risk just to feel that fame and feeling of being young once again. After the movie ends, you're not really going to know what to say or how to think because the experience that it takes you on is so fucking crazy and it's so off the wall, out of its mind. But I've been thinking about it for a few days and this movie is borderline genius. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's a must see, even if you're squeamish or whatever you want to say, it's still worth watching in theaters without a doubt. The story, the script, the acting, the filmmaking, everything about this is just absolutely amazing. And I'm going to give this movie an easy 9 out of 10. And one more thing, please don't take your girlfriend to see this movie. Just don't do it. She can watch it. She'll love it. You can watch it. You'll love it. You'll talk about it after, but don't take her to see it. But yeah, overall, guys, those are just my thoughts. I appreciate you watching. Like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you want. But my name is Zach, once again, and I will see you on the next one.